A lot of the time people get stuck because they bring in their friends and their family. They're first by themselves and then they start asking their friends and their family like to come and work with them and help them out. I think it's a good step. I think a lot of people go through it, but you need to learn that if you want to surpass that, you need to understand that like business is business and you need to have accountability. Hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. That's what one of the mentors I have says. People think it's all like you don't need employees, you don't need people, but you need people. And then you also need those people to come in and they need to be able to do that position that you hire them for, that job description. It's very important that like you're clear as the business owner, take responsibility. Am I providing them with the right training? Am I teaching them what to do the right way? Am I giving them like a clear directive on what to do so that there's not chaos everywhere and like we're actually accomplishing what we need to do for that specific position?
Can you think of a challenge, a difficulty, a problem you had in the growth of this business that would be a good learning lesson for our listeners here? Something that changed your perspective on how to run business?
The first thing that came to mind was,
welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs, growing 1% everyday podcast.
Hello, and welcome to the Art of Kaizen for Entrepreneurs podcast, where we get to discuss how to grow 1% every day in both business and in self. Today, we have Quinn Schiltz of Master Roofing, Inc. in Southern California. Quinn developed his company to bring new culture into both residential and commercial roofing industry to give homeowners trust and clarity in the number one aspect that protects their home, their roof. Super excited to have Quinn on the podcast today. Thank you, Quinn, for joining us.
thanks, Kyle. Appreciate you having me on.
No problem, man. And, I come from, I spent the last 10 years in Southern Florida, where there was more roofing companies to shake a stick at, and everyone seemed to have the same overall pitch and concept, which is, free estimates. We take care of your home. But from what I've seen on your website and what I've seen on just the overall animation that you have and some of the content you developed for your business, you guys are doing it differently. You do it with a lot of passion. You do it with a lot of energy. Can you explain to me, Quinn, kind of where this business came from and how you do things a little bit different in the roofing industry?
Percent. And I love the question. I love that you're doing this whole podcast thing too, Kyle. We actually just recently launched our own podcast for Master Roofing. It's going to be called Built to Scale. So that's actually going live July 1st, and we're going to drop the first 5 episodes. So it's to have that personal side, to connect with our customer and show them who's kind of the face behind the brand. To kind of answer your question of like why and how we're different in the industry and what we're building, we're really trying to build something where we really connect with the customer and make the whole roofing process seamless. We're using modern technology, so we come out with drones and iPads and survey the roof and give you like an accurate quote based on the measurements, and we use the best services out there for CRMs. We're working with Service Tie-In, who just recently went public, and our whole process is my whole thing is figuring out how are we going to perfect the process from when the customer Googles on their phone a roofer near me all the way up until the final inspection and they get their check. And how can we make that process seamless for the customer so that they don't really have to worry about it. They're constantly getting updated throughout the process. We handle everything with the city. We handle everything with the material procurement. All they have to worry about is giving us a check and knowing that they have peace of mind even after we install, that there's going to be service in the future and they're protected by the best warranties.
I love that. Really taking a 21st century approach into roofing, which I believe is needed. There's so much question and so much curiosity that comes from homeowners on a roof, right? Are you doing it correctly? Is my roof going to leak? What is the process? How long is I going to be out of a home? Or, there's a lot of curiosity in the process of it. So giving that technological advancement using Service Tie-In, and I'm assuming that you have that thing built out to 100%, automated email follow-ups, you have the automatic signatures through Service Tie-In, you have the updates going on, it's connecting to all your contractors and working through all your communication so that you're able to easily speak to your customers?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely has that automation side to it with the marketing side, but there's so much more that goes into it with operations, scheduling our field crews, seeing the statuses of a job. If you really look at it, like the way that the process kind of works is first a lead comes in. So we need to track where that lead came from, right? We need to know if that marketing source that we're using is actually giving us a return. So we have tons of tracking numbers out there for every piece that goes out, whether it's a landing page on a website or whether it's an ad in a magazine that goes out, or we're doing the OC Business Journal, for example, which is like kind of like for commercial property landlords and looking at property managers. So we need to know where the lead comes in first, right? So our CSR, customer service rep, is one who's going to answer the phone, and she needs to book it properly and make sure we know which source it came from, so that when the sales rep goes out, they can get all those questions answered. So they actually ask us a bunch of pre-qualifying questions. Once the sales rep goes out, they're actually going to go over with the customer a few different options. Options is one of our core values. So we want to basically give the customer a few different options to choose from, because a lot of companies come out there and say, hey, you just need a brand new roof. We don't want to be that company. We'd rather say, hey, you know what, if you can't afford a new roof right now, let's at least take care of the repair. And the repair will stay as a credit on your account with us when you're ready to do the new roof. So it's not money going to nowhere. It's still staying with us, and we're kind of building that customer loyalty with them, right? After this, the salesman goes out, the customer selects an option. What happens next is it goes into our internal operations team. So our operations team basically takes a look at the incoming jobs, and we want to get them done as quickly as they come in, because nobody wants to wait. So usually there's a process involved. If it's a replacement, then it has to go to our permit team. So they make sure it goes there to make sure that the permit gets pulled correctly and properly. So then we can go ahead and schedule a crew to go out to do the demolition. And then when the demolition starts, we collect the start payment, because we bill in like staged payments. So the customer always holds the upper hand. We don't ask them for half the money up front so we can go buy materials. We pay as the job is completed. So the customer holds the upper hand. They release the money as the job's done. So somebody's got to manage all that inside to make sure that the payments are happening at the right time. And then, so we have our accounting department that's handling that. And then at the same time, field operations is sending photo updates every day. They're in a group chat with our director of operations, with the project manager, with the foreman on the job. So the customer has a central point of contact throughout the whole job. And then, as the job comes to completion, the project manager goes back out. We make sure we provide the customer with all the documentation, the permits, everything they need. And then our marketing company in-house marketing team goes ahead and looks at the data from where those leads came in, where the leads are, where the good leads are coming in that are actually converting into customers, where other leads are coming in where it's not really our customer base, making sure we reinvest into those buckets that are working. So it's a whole process. And at the end of the day, we have two customers. We have our employees, which is one of our customers, because we need to make sure our employees are treated right. And then we're always selling to them, just like the customers that actually buy the roof. So it's making sure we're taking care of both sides of it to ensure that the operation grows, and then scale it into other markets.
Entrepreneurs and business owners, listen to this right now. That was a masterclass on operational breakdown. Very quickly, Quinn, and have your I's dotted, your T's crossed, and your ducks in a row of understanding your business process. This, talking to people like you, get me extremely excited, because it means that animation that just came through of you explaining that means how much you care about the business. It's the reason that you do it every day. Let's dive into that a little bit. Let's talk about the why. Obviously, you built excuse my language, you built a badass business that you have the operation structured very, very cleanly. But why do you do what you do? Why not, landscaping? Why not a restaurant? With that level of intellect and that level of operations, you could run any type of business. Why'd you pick roofing?
It's a good question. I found a gap in an industry. I didn't grow up wanting to be a roofer. I didn't grow up, dreaming about being a roofer. It just kind of happened that I fell into it. I had a background in real estate and medical device sales. And then I kind of fell into construction during COVID, and I kind of saw who the competition was, and because I was working for them, and I kind of always have been curious about success and how I could build something. I grew up with a single mom, and basically we didn't have much all the time. We always had basic needs covered, but it was always kind of like I wanted an iPhone, and it's like, hey, that's for an executive, so it was like kind of always out of reach, like the next thing. So I always read books, Rich Dad Poor Dad, when I was like 14 years old. I really wanted to like figure out how to get out of it and build something for myself. So it's funny, one of my buddies just came down, and I did an interview with him, and I asked him like, why roofing? And he's like, I'd be in the toilet paper business if it had the same opportunity, right? And it's like, you need to have like, you need to find your goal first, and then you need to find a vehicle to make it work. And so I believe that our goal, our vision is by 2034 to be $1 billion in annual revenue and $10 billion valuation, serving 50,000 clients every year with 2,000 employees. So we have like a very clear like vision and target what we're working towards. And I believe it's possible because, you look at, big companies like Service Champions, Ken Goodrich, like he sold his company, it's called Gettle. It was like a big plumbing and AC company for $500 million to private equity. And there's a lot of brands out there doing it. So for me, the why, kind of to circle back, started first with like, I wanted to go work for myself and I didn't want to work for somebody else anymore because things didn't work out. I was feel like I was getting gypped on commissions and things like that. So the first thing was I just want to escape, and I ran into opening my own business. And then I quickly realized that I just gave myself another job, and I was, all day chasing things and kind of making a little bit more money, but responsibility went up 10 times. I got my first lawsuit and I was like, what, screw this. I'm closing the business. I'm giving up. I don't want to do this anymore. And I ended up getting into the right rooms, Kyle, and I met a lot of mentors that have built businesses and sold them for hundreds of millions of dollars. And by walking into those rooms, I realized that the problems I thought I had were actually very small, and I had a huge opportunity, and I'm in a great market to actually build something great. And so with the guidance of those people, I don't think there's any shortcut to success, but I think if you can learn from somebody else who's done it before, that you have an opportunity to shortcut that success by learning from their mistakes, if you actually listen to what they say. And so I started putting things into place that they told me to do. I got myself an office and a warehouse. I started building a team by just getting an assistant, and that turned into, now I have different departments. And so it's like just the first stage of like creating a vision of like, hey, what is our vision? What is our mission? Like, let's get all these people on the team aligned with that same vision and mission so that we can actually build this thing. Do I know how we're going to get to $10 billion? I have an idea, but I don't know the exact roadmap. I have to build a team and not be the smartest guy in the room, and bring in people smarter than me to execute every day and make that happen. So right now, the why is very clear. We want to be the dominant roofing company in the whole United States. When we want to be an industry titan, that when people think of roofing, they think of master roofing.
I love it. I mean, so many golden nuggets there. So many golden nuggets. First of all, having a vision and a goal of where you want to go, and then finding the vehicle to do so. And it's not like, Quinn's coming in here and said that he had no interest in roofing. He saw the opportunity in roofing and saw how customers were just being abused and not treated correctly. And that's why he put all the efforts into his operation, his communication, his CRM system to give something the opportunity. Correct me if I'm wrong, Quinn, but the opportunity you saw was a lackluster consumer experience that you were looking to solve.
Yeah, 100%. So it's like you said, it's not that I didn't have an interest in roofing. I saw the opportunity in roofing, and I saw the gap that was missing. And I said, hey, if we can go ahead and put this white glove service into this industry and help a customer, that make it attainable for anyone, where we can do a brand new roof for like $200 a month. We have like the best financing companies behind us and everything. So with that white glove service that's attainable for everyone, it's like we saw this gap in this industry, and I'm like, why can't we provide Ritz-Carlton service for everyday consumer looking for a roof? They're dealing with all these trucks in the truck, Joe Schmoes to show up. It's the same guy that you're talking to that's actually going to go up and install the roof. They're not showing you a copy of their insurance. A lot of them aren't even licensed. And so it's like, hey, let's take over this industry. Like, I know what people want. I know that customer experience they want. People want to be taken care of and know that they don't have to worry about it ever again. And if you can deliver that to the customer, then they're going to refer you to all their friends and all their family, and we're going to become the biggest company in the industry.
I love that. I mean, for, again, golden nuggets across the board, not only structuring the, vehicle and diving so deep into what is going to get him to the revenue goal that he wants to, but then also understanding one of the golden nuggets you said there was not being the smartest guy in the room, understanding that you need to almost remove yourself from the business and structure the foundations, the expectations, and the overall vision of the company, and hold true to that, and allow the intelligent people within their field, if that is the contractors, if that is the CSRs, if that is the marketing team, to do what they do best to find that level of success. I mean, Quinn, I talked to probably about 50 to 60 entrepreneurs a day. Not all of them had the clarity that you do. Can I ask you some speed round questions? I mean, this is a little bit off of, just so all the listeners know, I gave everybody a basic questions I'm going to ask them, but Quinn got me super excited here. And I would love for the other entrepreneurs that are listening to this to understand what a true business owner that's looking to scale is looking at in his business. Quinn, do you know what it costs you to acquire a lead?
Yeah, I mean, it can always get better, but we will pay up to $500 for a lead. Typically, we can have the cost. It depends on the quality of the leads. There's different types of leads when you're building a business. Like, there's a customer that goes on their phone and searches for a roofer. That's a high quality lead, right? Because they're actually looking for the service. Then you have customers, for example, that are more like Facebook leads. They're scrolling and they stop. You kind of stop them in their tracks. They're not necessarily looking for it. It's kind of targeted, but it's not as high of a quality lead. You call them and they say that they never clicked on the link, right? So it just depends. So for different lead, there's different amounts we'll pay for them. And with any marketing that we do, we always will go ahead and test it and track it, for a number of days. Like a lot of these companies come in, they require a contract, XYZ. We don't work with those companies. They're going to work with a shorter term contract where we can actually look at results and we can see how those results are working. And then, everything for me is off of results. I don't really care about clicks. I don't care about impressions. I want to know, okay, so how many, I'm gonna have a meeting with my director of marketing in a few minutes after this meeting. I'm gonna say, okay, how much did we spend on Thumbtack? How many leads did we get? How many of those booked? How many of those bought? Those are the numbers I care about. Like what actually turned into something on our calendar, and what did the sales rep do? Because it's once it goes from the marketing to the calendar, that's where I hold marketing accountable. Once it goes from marketing to sales, that's where I hold sales accountable.
And I'm assuming you have set KPIs for each aspect that you just highlighted. Your cost per lead, your conversion rate of lead, the average ticket order, how many touch points you should have. Are you building those KPIs within your business?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I mean, for the people listening, if I said KPI and you're like, what the heck is that? It's key performance indicator, right? This is, as a business owner, the only way that we know success and failure is we define what success is and what failure is. And Quinn here is saying, I have structured a system where I can clearly identify everything that's happening. And I have built key identifiers in each category to understand, are we being successful towards the vision that we have of that? What'd you say? It was 10 billion?
Yes, sir.
10 billion, right? And that's that goal for some people that just starting off in the roofing industry or the home improvement industry, that might seem crazy. That is not crazy with the vision that Quinn has, with the mission to go across the US. And I mean, the business name is awesome. Master Roofing. I mean, you crushed that one. I don't know what you paid for the URL, but definitely grab the right name on that one. And to develop that KPI structure to understand how to be successful. Can I dive into that a little bit on your backstory of you personally, Quinn? What brought you to understand this level of business? What made you want to care about defining KPIs, to know every piece of your operations, to really be able to dive into what it truly is to be a scalable business owner, which is understanding your data that leads to success?
So you don't know what you don't know, right? And so the number one thing is like, if you don't know what a KPI is, then you're going to probably be making a lot of your decisions in business based on that gut feeling. Like, does this feel right or does this not feel right? And so the whole point of like a KPI is basically just think of it like you're looking at like data that's going to help you make a decision. You're not going to make decisions based off of like what you feel, and you're going to make decisions based off of like what the numbers are telling you. And so, like, for example, when I first created like KPIs for my roofing salesmen, they were like, what is this, right? And we didn't have a fancy system. We just we just went on Google Sheets, and we basically said, okay, so these are going to be your KPIs. These are the things that we're going to track for you on a daily basis. You need to knock on 30 doors a day. You need to go out and do 10 follow-up phone calls. You need to go out and provide 3 quotes. How many sales did you make today? And here's what your quota is supposed to be, and here's what it's not. So you're just taking like standards for that like position, and you're saying like, tell me what you actually did. What's the actual versus what's required? And then if you come to me and you say, oh, I'm hitting all my KPIs and I'm not selling, something's wrong. So if they like, I'm gonna sit down with them. We're gonna look at that, and it's like, hey, you're supposed to be knocking on 30 doors, or you're only knocking on 10. Maybe that's part of the reason why you're not putting in the reps. So you're not getting, and we provide like 1 to 2 leads a day too. But there's some days there's no leads. There's some days that they have 1 lead for the day. So what are you doing the rest of the 8-hour working day? You're just going home and chilling. Like, what are you doing to make yourself succeed? So it's just very like, KPI sounds complicated and very technical, but all it is basically tracking like responsibilities for each position. And we're not perfect. We're still building them out in all different departments. Like, like finding out the right KPIs for finance, finding out the right KPIs for CSR, finding out the right KPIs for a marketing director, finding out the right KPIs. What are the KPIs I should be looking at, right? As a business owner every day. So like, all of those things, like I have direction, and I didn't learn it overnight or in one day. You asked how I learned it. It was just through over time, like reading books, talking to other business owners, and I actually, my wife encouraged me to do a course of $40,000 with Cardone Ventures. It's called the 10X 360. And I ended up doing it. I was like, we're going to the event and I was like, babe, they're going to try and sell us a bunch of shit. Like, we're not going to buy it. And she said, okay, sounds good. And then, after she heard it for 2 days, and we talked to some other business owners that had done it, and they saw like a lot of success. Like a buddy of mine, Jason, he was like doing 10 million in his second year in business and revenue. And I was like, I was breaking 2 million. And I was like, bro, like, what are you doing different? So he was like super invested in this. And he's like, I just followed these steps. And so you really don't know what you don't know, right? Like I learned a lot about like everything in every department. Like, there's so many things to learn. Like you talk about KPIs, but in accounting, there's like pro formas. You need to be looking at a P&L and a balance sheet. Like there's so many different things that like you don't know what you don't know. And so like the easiest way to do it is all the information is out there for free if you want to go to the library. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you just have to invest the time in yourself to learn. That's the first step.
Incredible. Is there a book that you would recommend for someone that they're listening to you and they're like, dude, I need to get down this path. I need to start the process. Is there a book that you would recommend that somebody would start with?
Yeah, I would say that if you're really trying to build your business and like build a serious process, there's 2 books. There's The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And then there's also the book Traction by Gina Wickman. Our team is like implementing the EOS system into our business now after a few people that we've worked with. They've had a lot of success in their business with it. And it just makes a lot of sense. It shows you everything from like how to build teams, how to structure the organization. A lot of the stuff I learned in like these different courses, like I could have learned if I just read those books.
Yeah. And he said EOS. If you guys haven't heard that term before, that is an operational structure of the communication for your meetings and how you're actually supposed to work with your employees internally, how they set personal goals, how you go after those goals, how you have goals within the business that all stem off that base structure of KPI. And I want to give a little secret out to the listeners. When you're looking at your business and you do not say it's a brand new business, you're just getting started off, you can still make KPIs the same way that I built for mine. And I'm assuming the way that you started off with yours, Quinn, it's assumptions. We put the data of what we assume a little bit lower, right? If we want to hit 30 doors a day and that's where we want to get to, we might start off with saying 15, but we build those into a foundational structure from the business saying that this is what we have to do to be successful. And this is what we're going to quantify going forward. So there's no more emotion. There's just data and you can work off data. It's very difficult to work off emotion. Would you agree, Quinn?
I'd agree 100%.
Yeah, love that. So let me dive a little bit into, because I think you're going in the right direction. And I want to ask a little bit more. My next question is usually, I understand your business now. Let's go into the future a little bit, but you have your future pretty laid out. You know where you want to go. My curiosity to you, my question is, do you believe the best way to hit that growth cycle is to go and take over new market share? So take your business ideology and move it out of Southern California, go to Northern California, go over to Arizona and move west? Or do you plan on acquiring businesses that are throughout the US and remolding them to your process and procedure? What do you think in your mind is the best way to go forward to hit that $10 billion run rate?
That's a great question. So I would say it's a mixture of both. First is taking over California. Why move to a different state? We're licensed here. So we have to move up to San Francisco, Sacramento, take over these other large markets here in California. Once that's done, kind of expanding more towards, Nevada, Arizona, and start going in that direction. Maybe looking at the busier cities like Miami and New York. And figuring that out. It's always better if you can buy like a business where, kind of a business owner's going out of business. He's been doing it, he's ready to retire and, he wants to give up the business, but he still has the crews in place and all the assets in place. It's always better to buy a business like that, take the existing customer base and then rebrand it, like, with the newer marketing and everything we're doing to stand out and be different, maybe change some people, put people in the right chairs. But that's, it's going to be a mixture of both. Obviously finding the right businesses to acquire, that we're going to be able to put our structure in place. But it's definitely part of our plan to have acquisitions.
Love it. And a combination of both is what's going to get you that 10 billion. And especially as you move west, I mean, there's so many different complications that come in that aren't in California. You're going to go into areas that there's hail, there's severe weather condition. You go into Florida, you're dealing with the hurricane positioning. And to be able to bend and weave your processes to fit those businesses is a core factor of growth. And, as business owners that are listening to this, as you go to scale, you got to take that into consideration as you grow and build. But Quinn's answer is absolutely perfect. There's got to be a combination of what we do best, expanding, and that's a vertical expansion, and then a horizontal expansion of acquiring other businesses that are in that area so that you're not starting off from zero, and it gives him the best opportunity forward. Quinn, badass business owner, right? I don't say that to many people, but badass business owner. You're doing a great job from at least just the conversation I'm hearing here. Let me talk to you a little bit about how you became good. We talked about the books and the education that you went through, but I believe that men, and especially business owners, are created by fire. We go through trials and tribulations and difficulties time and time again, and the really strong ones go through that fire and come out unscathed and continue to push forward. Maybe not unscathed, maybe a few scars, but we continue to push forward. Can you think of a challenge, a difficulty, a problem that you had in the growth of this business that would be a good learning lesson for our listeners here, something that changed your perspective on how to run business?
The first thing that came to mind was just kind of like learning that not everyone that starts with you is going to finish with you. I think that a lot of the time people get stuck because they bring in like their friends and their family. Like they're first by themselves, and then they start asking like their friends and their family like to come and work with them and help them out. And I think it's a good step. I think a lot of people go through it, but you need to learn that if you want to surpass that, you really need to understand that like business is business, and you need to have accountability. You need to stick to your process with people. Like hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. That's what one of the mentors I have says, Ishmael Valdez. And what that is like, you're never going to know if somebody's going to be good or not when they join. But once you see that they're not the right fit, you need to let them go. With certain like friends and family, sometimes it can be really hard because it's like they have a special place in your heart and you don't want to ruin that relationship. So you kind of let things go for too long. But I had that experience a couple of times, and I had to realize that like if I want to get this business to where I want it to go, that I'm going to have to realize that relationship is separate. If I want to, like the business relationship is separate. If they want to work with me as part of this journey, they're going to have to follow like the process that I put in place because it's my company. And so if they can't trust me as the leader and they can't follow that process, then we can stay friends. Like, hey, I still love you, but we can't work together. And so that's happened. I had like a couple of people earlier on like work with me, and I had to realize that. And kind of once you learn those lessons and you have to let those people go that are like close to you, that like where it's actually like a hard, painful decision, and you're able to make that happen, then it's gonna be a lot easier to do it with people later on when you have that connection. Like I just recently had on Friday like 2 different issues, and we had to do some write-ups for employees today, and like I just have a process in place now. So if people aren't doing their process, then we're gonna write them up, and if like verbal warning, write them up and then let them go. So it's like there's no time for like that anymore. I think that's like one of the biggest thing. I mean, your business is going to grow with people, especially in the business I'm in, right? It's people. The more any business, like you talk about even digital companies, like look how many people are employed by Facebook, or even look how many people are employed by like Sam Altman with ChatGPT, right? It's like, I mean, they're building like these huge sites of construction. Like, people think it's all like, you don't need employees, you don't need people, but you need people. And then you also need those people to come in, and they need to be able to do that position that you hire them for, that job description. So it's very important that like you're clear as the business owner, take responsibility. Am I providing them with the right training? Am I teaching them what to do the right way? And am I giving them like a clear directive on what to do, so that there's not chaos everywhere, and like we're actually accomplishing what we need to do for that specific position. And also like something that would be good for like a business owner, there's a book called Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell, and he talks about like how when you hire somebody, like you need to like think when you're hiring somebody, like how like you're going to delegate that to them, so you buy back your time. Like if you're doing like the first thing you need to do is like audit what you're doing in a week of like what are all the things I'm doing that's taking up my time, and then figure out, like I think you need to put them in like different like levels of importance, and then basically decide like, can I get somebody else to do this for me? So there's a lot of things to learn, but it's important that like you start freeing up your time and delegating it. You get the right people, and you hold the people accountable to what they have to do, and treat the business like it's a business. Like treat it as if you worked for a big corporation. Like how would they handle things? And that's the only way you're going to grow, because the biggest thing that will slow you down is like having the wrong people on your team that are like dragging you down. The second like you cut and like one door closes, it's always a better one that opens.
And the key component there, if you guys are an entrepreneur, business owner, listening to this and saying, damn, yeah, I have a cousin, I have a family member, I have a friend that's working in my business right now that's underperforming, and I just don't know what to do. The key component with what Quinn says here is not hitting the standard of his expectations. Once you have that structure in place, it's less emotional of why did you say or or act this way, and more of you did not hit the key factors that we consider success in this business, and I'm going to hold everybody to this standard. It actually makes the breakup way cleaner, way cleaner, because you're not doing it in an emotional tie backing way. You're doing it in a way that these are the standards we have to hit as a business. If you think you're above these standards, you think you're above the business, and that's not what we have. This is a team, and building that team atmosphere puts everybody in that standard to make sure that they're hitting what you expect them to hit. And if they're not a good fit. And that's the easiest way to get rid of that employee that you might have an emotional tie to, but just not hitting the cut for your business. Quinn, I mean, dude, golden nuggets, rock star across the board. I love this. I have one last question for you, and then maybe a bonus question afterwards. I haven't asked in a while, but I would love to hear your answer. My last question: how do you find your Kaizen? Kaizen is a Japanese business philosophy that means 1% progression every day in both business and itself. It was made famous by Toyota and their progressive development of their cars, right? So a lot of people have multiple different outlets to find their own personal development and the way that they develop their business. But is there anything that you're doing, Quinn? Is it a continuous learning through reading? Is it through podcasts? Is it through YouTube videos? Is it through a morning routine that allows you to find your 1% improvement every single day?
I love that question that you asked me, and I'm trying to find this post I did a while back, because I actually referenced that term a long time ago, Kaizen, when I just started getting into fitness. I'll read the caption on my Instagram post. It said, Kaizen, a Japanese term meaning continuous improvement with small progress or change each day. Looking back over the past couple years, I can count the numerous moments in time where I was so focused on what was going wrong in my life and not even realizing the tremendous progress and improvement in other and even more important areas of my life. I found passion for fitness to help with the help of very few close friends. You know who you are. Not only has my body physically improved, it's forced me out of my comfort zone in many ways. Mentally, I'm stronger and more confident than ever. I'm looking forward to 2021 and all that it has to offer by implementing Kaizen in all areas of my life. So it's funny, because that's what I thought of when I first saw your podcast, of like, being 1% better. I think that it's like when you get in like to the mindset, like if you're an entrepreneur like me, like you're never content. You're always like, by Monday, like you have a whole list of things that you have to do, like that you thought of over the weekend, and you come in and like you have a whole new list for yourself, and you completed the list last week, and it just always piles on, and then there's problems that come in on top of that. And so you can get very like, for me, I can get very like, negative on myself, thinking like I didn't accomplish anything today. You know what I mean? And I was there all day long. And so it's like, it's kind of like you need to give yourself grace and realize like, look, the business is one aspect of your life. It's vehicle. You have to be 100% in it. But you also have to look at the other areas of your life. Like I have an amazing wife, like spend time with her, have my time for myself too, be there for my team. But I think that as long as you show up every day, you're going to be able to, and you have that intent to be better, and you have that process, and you're following your process, it's inevitable that like brick by brick, you're going to build the pyramids.
I love that. I love it. So the affirmations, ensuring that you understand what your success is, and then really resembling that to yourself. I don't think a lot of people skip out on that, of just leaning into the positivity. So you live in the mind of positivity. If you drown yourself in negative thoughts, you will be in a negative mind space. Quinn, absolutely powerful, incredible. I have to ask you this bonus question because you've dropped a lot of books, right? And I haven't asked this in many recent podcasts, but have you ever read the book Atlas Shrugged?
I haven't, no.
It's a super long book, and most of it's not very good, but the concept's amazing. The concept's great. The concept of Atlas Shrugs, it talks about how us as business owners, we run the world. We put the world on our shoulder, and through the process of business, the world moves forward. And through you growing your roofing company, me and the marketing agency, we employ people, we develop people. But what would happen if all of us as business owners shrugged it off? What if all of us today just decided that we are going to close our business, going to close our doors, and there's going to be no more people running companies? Now, the roofing material will still be out there. The restaurants will still be there, but there's no functional managers or owners running it. My question to you is, if that happened today, if Atlas shrugged and all these businesses absolutely fell apart, what would be the first business that you would start tomorrow?
I want to think about this for a second. I mean, I would think the first thing comes to mind is like, I'm trying to like fill a need, right? Like, what is the need that everyone has? So, I mean, look, the biggest companies in the world right now are focused on AI. So I would try and figure out a way, if there's no one going for it and everyone just, let go of it. I mean, how do I find that team, that was building ChatGPT? How do I get the money to put them together? And how do I continue to build that business and turn it into something like the vision's already cast, it's already there. Like I would probably look for something that's already working, and the biggest thing that's already working, and try and put that team together and get the financing together and everything, and then keep driving that team forward. Because any of those huge companies, they're getting invested in because of the team working for them. It's not any other reason. Like they have the right team behind them.
And Quinn, such a powerful answer. I've gotten answers to that question of I need the gym. I gotta work out every day, so I'm gonna build a gym, or I can't go a day without my coffee, so I'm gonna start a coffee shop, right? But your answer rooted back into the people, what you're trying to help. You're trying to serve people, and that's why I truly believe you'll hit that $10 billion overall evaluation of your company, because you care about the people, you care about helping the world around you. And that's such a special thing. Quinn, thank you so much for your time. You were an absolute gold mine of information, and the masterclass that you just put on of the operational structures behind any service business. Yes, you use roofing as the business that you have, but any service business, and understanding as a core business owner, you need to understand the foundation of how your business functions. You need to have a vision for the future. You need to set KPIs in place to understand where success and failure is, and you need to hold your employees to that as you build up a strong employee base. And I'm going to use that line of you.
So hiring is guessing, firing is knowing.
Hiring is guessing, firing is knowing. Super powerful, super powerful. Thank you so much, Quinn, for the time. And for the listeners out there, how can they find you? If they're in the Southern California area, how can they connect with you to get a new roof? How do they find you on the internet?
Yeah, so if you're looking to join our team, go to master-roofinginc.com/careers. We're always hiring and looking for new people to join our team. If you're a homeowner or commercial property owner, reach out to us at 833-7-ROOFER. And if you're just looking to see the journey on how we build this thing, you can follow me on Instagram or any of the social medias at Quinn Vincent with 2 T's. And we're also just launching our podcast. We have an in-person podcast here, so that's going to be called Built to Scale by Quinn Vincent Schiltz. So yeah, you can find us anywhere and be a part of the journey.
Quinn Schiltz from Master Roofing Inc. Thank you so much for the time. If you guys have finished this video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you on the next one.